Hello there, this is the news on NTA International. I'm Elizabeth Omori, and our sign language interpreter is Precious Osemina. Now let's take a look at the highlights. State of the Nation, President Tinubu convenes Security Council meeting. Lingering fuel scarcity, House of Representatives dissolves its joint downstream and midstream committee investigating importation of adulterated petroleum products. And Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, resigns after 15 years rule. Now the news. President Bola Tinubu has directed security agencies to remain resolute and stand against any individual or groups of persons trying to undermine the sovereignty of the country. This was at an emergency security meeting held at the State House. Let's now hear from State House correspondent Musbah Danwahab.
Yes, the service chiefs and other heads of security agencies arrived State House this Monday afternoon, barely 2 weeks after an earlier routine meeting with Mr. President. The President actually suspended the Federal Executive Council meeting slated for this Monday earlier for something that apparently appears more pressing. And the meeting lasted for more than 2 hours behind closed doors with Mr. President and as well as Vice President Kashim Shettima. And after the meeting, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, briefed State House correspondent talking about what transpired behind closed doors, and it was basically to appraise the security situation in the country going by the protest, the nationwide protest in town. Another issue that came up prominently was the issue of some Nigerians in parts of the country, particularly in Kano and Kaduna, flying another foreign flag in the country, which these Security Council condemned totally. Let's take a listen to the Chief of Defense Staff.
For those of them flying flags, if you see a lot of them are kids being pushed to do that. We're following up with those ones that are sponsoring them, those that are pushing them, because you know the flags were also made. We identified those areas and we're going to take serious action against that. The President is clear on his instructions on for us not to accept anyone that wants to disrupt the peace and tranquility of Nigeria. And we are all standing here together to show Nigerians that we're working closely, we're working together in synergy to ensure that there's peace and tranquility in Nigeria. That we have assured Mr. President.
And again, the armed forces and other heads of security agencies also reaffirmed their commitment to democratic rule in the country, as General Christopher Musa told State House correspondents.
Also the issue of coups. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. Nigeria is a democratic nation. All security agencies are here to defend democracy and make sure that democracy continues to strive. We will not accept anyone pushing or taking any action, seemingly or for whatever reason, to want to push for any change of government. Democracy is what we stand for. Democracy is what we continue to defend.
And also, the Chief of Defense Staff also affirmed the readiness of the military to be there as a backup in case of any breakdown of law and order by those protesting across the country to support the Nigeria Police Force.
Meanwhile, the Russian embassy in Nigeria has exonerated itself from the alleged display of the nation's flag by some demonstrators in the country. The embassy, in a statement in Abuja, says the government of the Russian Federation, as well as any Russian officials, are not involved in these activities and do not coordinate them in any way. The statement emphasized that Russia does not interfere in the domestic affairs of foreign states, including Nigeria. The embassy says Russia respects Nigerian democracy and believes that peaceful demonstrations in conformity with the Nigerian law are a manifestation of democracy. It further declares that the intentions of some protesters to wave Russian flags are personal choices of individuals and they do not reflect any official position or policy of the Russian government in the issue. Now, the fifth day of the ongoing nationwide protest witnessed low turnout in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Joseph Hudson, who has been monitoring the demonstration, reports that a handful showed up at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, while other strategic places in Abuja were calm.
From the first day of the 10 days nationwide protests, the number of protesters have continued to reduce. At the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, a handful of protesters came out and were granted access only inside the National Stadium to prevent traffic congestion on the Federal Highway. However, a few who came around but refused to move inside the stadium were dispersed by the security on guard. Following President Bola Tinubu's broadcast to the nation, where he explained efforts made by the federal government to address concerns of citizens and calling on the agitators to embrace more dialogue, some organizers of the protests addressed the media, saying they would give government another chance for dialogue, but some remain unsatisfied. And with little to show at the National Stadium, the journalists take their leave. Meanwhile, the Eagle Square, Secretariat, and the Unity Fountain were all calm. There were no incidents of any protests at any of these strategic places. In Abuja, Joseph Hudson, NTA News.
And peaceful atmosphere is gradually pervading ancient city of Kano in the aftermath of violent protests, which led to the imposition of curfew by the state government. Fatima Sanusi Karaye reports that business and other commercial activities are yet to pick up.
The ever-busy Kano city is now a shadow of itself on account of absence of heavy vehicular movement and human activities, largely due to the fragile peace in the state. A visit to the famous vegetable market at Enkaba in the metropolis reveals a sense of urgency, with people hastily stocking up on essentials before the 2 p.m. curfew deadline.
I came out at 8 a.m. and I'll be going back home at 2 p.m. All we want is to get everything back to normal.
After the unfortunate situation where hoodlums hijacked the peaceful protest in Kano, the state government imposed 24 hours curfew in the state. But now the state have relaxed the curfew where people can come out from 8 a.m. to p.m. This is Sabangari, one of the busiest area in the state. But as you can see, every shop is closed as they are afraid of the unknown.
For now, the 6-hour window of curfew relaxation from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. offers a glimmer of respite. However, the state government remains vigilant, closely monitoring the security landscape and poised to make further decisions on the curfew as needed. The city holds its breath, waiting for a return to normalcy. In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Karai, NTA News.
To other news, following non-performance, some road contracts were terminated, with many others undergoing review. This has brought life into many abandoned road projects, but calls for the restarting of road projects, especially in areas under security threats, are becoming louder. Abdullah Mohammed reports.
Trucks are falling down and the contractors are playing in okay.
The ugly scenarios and the urge to make road transport a lot easier for the common man was behind the move to terminate non-performing road projects across the country. But this hammer did not spare projects in areas under security threats, and the people are counting difficult days.
It's one of the roads that links the frontline local governments of insecurity in this state. Most especially here in Kankara, it's one of the endemic areas of insecurity. So we are appealing to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to please ensure that we are making our passionate appeal to please ensure that this road construction will be completed.
Along this road, from Maraba Kankara to Katsina, there have been so much banditry. So we want the federal government to take a serious action.
Kankara Dusama Road in Katsina State crisscrosses about 7 local government areas to Niger Republic. In Abuja, Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA News.
Now to the foreign scene, Tunisian president has submitted his official candidacy for the country's upcoming presidential election on October 6. He said he is running for office as a citizen and has collected over 240,000 signatures as required by the law. Comfort Fashion tells us more.
Besides submission of his official candidacy for the country's upcoming presidential election came just 2 days after that of Abir Morsi, a vocal critic of Said, who has been in jail since October. He said that his candidacy was part of a liberation and self-determination war that is set to establish a new republic. It was, however, revealed by experts that Said's challengers face significant constraints in their bid to run for office, while several would-be hopefuls are either in prison or being prosecuted. To be listed on the ballots, candidates are required to present a list of signatures from 10,000 registered voters with at least 500 voter signatures per constituency. But Said on Monday denied that his government was repressing critical voices, saying that whoever talks about restrictions is delusional. He said, and I quote, "I did not oppress anyone, and the law applies to everyone equally. I am here as a citizen to run for office. We're in a war of liberation, and we don't want to restrict anyone's freedoms." End of quote. The president said he did not interfere with the judiciary, stressing that the country will not accept any foreign party interfering in the choices of their people. Meanwhile, jailed hopefuls include Isam Chebe, leader of the centrist party, Al-Jamori, and Ghazi Cheoche, head of the Social Democratic Party, both held for plotting against the state. And just last week, 4 women working on the presidential campaign of rapper turned businessman Karim Garbi, better known by his stage name Ketu Rhyme, were given jail time for allegedly buying signatures of endorsements. Said said he has collected over 240,000 signatures. Comfort Fashion, NTA News.
And the United States military has completed its withdrawal from Air Base 201 in Niger. Chukwunonso Mwabweze reports that officials said this is coming after Niger's ruling junta ordered nearly 1,000 U.S. military personnel to leave following a coup last year.
A joint statement from Niger's defense ministry and the U.S. military said personnel and equipment from the base had been withdrawn and coordination would continue over the coming weeks to make sure the pullout is complete. The effective cooperation and communication between the U.S. and the Nigerian armed forces ensured that this turnover was finished ahead of schedule and without complications, the statement said. Niger's junta had given the U.S. until September 15 to remove troops from its territory. U.S. troops pulled out of Air Base 101 last month. Niger's decision to ask for the removal of U.S. troops came after a meeting in Niamey in the mid-March when senior U.S. officials raised concerns about issues such as the expected arrival of Russian forces and reports of Iran seeking raw materials in the country, including uranium. Air Base 201, a drone base near Agadez in central Niger that was built at a cost of $100 million, had provided crucial intelligence about Islamist militant groups before the coup. Chukwunonso Mwabweze, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Mali says it has cut diplomatic ties with Ukraine after a military official suggested Kyiv had played a role in deadly fight near the Algerian border last month. Chukwunonso Mwabweze once again brings us details.
D'éléments des forces de défense et de sécurité maliennes.
Government spokesman Colonel Abdoulaye Meiga said the decision is with immediate effect, accusing a senior Ukrainian official of having admitted Kiev's role in a heavy defeat suffered by Malian troops in July in the northern part of the country, with dozens of casualties, which also included members of the Russian mercenary group Wagner. He added that Mali's government had been shocked to learn of remarks of Andriy Yusov, spokesman for Ukraine's military intelligence agency, over the incidents. Yusov had admitted Ukraine's involvement in the attack by armed terrorist groups that had led to the death of Malian soldiers. Meiga further stated he accused Yusov of speaking on Ukrainian television, where he said the whole world was aware that the rebels had received the necessary data that allowed them to carry out the operation against the Russian war criminals. An action, Meiga said, violated Malian sovereignty and constituted unacceptable foreign interference and support for international terrorism. 3 days of intense fighting erupted at a military camp near the Algerian border on July 25, with Mali's army admitting it has suffered a large number of deaths during the fighting, but has not released figures. The West African nations' military leaders who seized power in the 2020 coup had made it a priority to retake all of the country from separatist and jihadist forces linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. Chukwunonso Nwabueze, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. Time to take a breather. More reports ahead.
To the people of Nigeria, we must protect our country. We must say protest not in my state. We must adopt a peaceful and dialogue-driven approach in our pursuit of change. Clearly, we must articulate our demands and be willing to listen to others. Engage in open and constructive conversations with the government. Many of us are weary of the agenda of the promoters of the planned protest. To protest is a process that ends in dialogue. But the peaceful protest is not guaranteed. Let us start with dialogue, not protest. We must find a rally point, create a podium, and take turns to air our views without exposing innocent citizens to danger. Remember that harming ordinary citizens who may not share our vision is not acceptable. Instead, we must work towards winning their endorsement. We cannot destroy what we have to demand for what we do not have. This government is addressing the issues, and we want to be part of finding solutions. We want rice, not cries, food, not boots. We want dialogue, not protest. We must protect Nigeria.
This season, enjoy all the better moments with GoTV. Your football party GoTV, they give you better deal of decoder plus GoTenna for only 19,900 naira. Make you enjoy correct football action live on Top Super Sport. GoTV, love it.
You're still watching the news on NTA International. Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina's 15-year rule ended following her resignation on Monday. The 76-year-old former leader fled the country after her resignation after weeks of deadly protest. Chukwunonso Nwabueze brings us details.
Bangladesh Army Chief General Waka Uz Zaman said in a broadcast to the nation on state television on Monday that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had resigned and that the military would form an interim government. He said the country has suffered a lot and it's time to stop the violence. Waka further stated that he had held talks with the main opposition parties and civil society members, but not with Hassani's Awami League. The army chief promised to talk to the president to form a caretaker government in the South Asian nation of some 170 million people. Hassani, 76, has sought since early July to quell nationwide protests against her government, but she fled after a brutal day of unrest on Sunday in which nearly 100 people were killed. Jubilant crowds had waved flags, some dancing on top of a tank in the streets on Monday before hundreds broke through the gates of Hassani's official residence in Dhaka. Demonstrations began over the reintroduction of a quota scheme that reserved more than half of all government jobs for certain groups. The protests escalated despite the scheme having been scaled back by Bangladesh top court. Chukwunonso Nwabueze, NTA News.
Thank you, Chukwunonso. Now, a bit on entertainment, an art exhibition that highlights local voices against slavery in Nigeria, which seeks to bring together a diverse range of historical and contemporary perspectives, is on to educate and inspire Nigerians through personal stories and scholarly research that underline the struggle against slavery and human trafficking. This is to deepen understanding of crucial issues around efforts at curbing all forms of slavery and expose tactics of traffickers.
Some children that have been trafficked, traffickers tell them not to inform their parents. And anything that anybody is doing that you have been asked to tell a third party is evil, is understood. So why we are here is to lend our voice as an agency with that of APRA that human trafficking is evil.
We're also concentrating on rehabilitation and also looking at if you can abolish this, why can't you center this to stop sense of supremacy?
Cases early movements like the Lagos Auxiliary of the Anti-Slavery and Aborigines Protection Society, which opposed the colonial government's pro-slavery laws, the Osu Abolition Movement, and political figures such as Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, Tafawa Balewa, among others who shaped the Nigerian history.
Doing the same, asking the same questions in East Africa, in Ethiopia, in Franco West Africa. So this is just the Nigerian phase of the project.
Cultural representations, historical events, documents and artifacts exhibited by researchers, anti-slavery activists and artists. The theme of the exhibition is Nigerian Voices Against Slavery. Blueprint for the promotion of efficient court service delivery models is underway. The design plan is to raise the standard of excellence in the administration of justice in Nigeria. Dele Atumbi of our Judiciary Desk reports.
The judiciary is often seen as the last hope of the common man and the bastion of democracy, which promotes the rule of law rather than the rule of the thumb. As an arm of government, it brings equity to bear on the adjudication of matters before it, thereby promoting substantial justice. To continue to carry out this onerous task, the justice sector must key into the advantages offered by the ICT using modern-day electronic devices to enhance service delivery. The development is to make judicial services transparent, efficient, and easily accessible to court users. To achieve this, the National Judicial Institute, which is the training arm of the judiciary, brought together the supporting staff in the justice sector to be able to rub minds on ways to enhance the service delivery in the Temple of Justice.
This forum provides a valuable opportunity for us to explore and implement strategies that will not only streamline our operations, but also uphold the principles of justice. Furthermore, effective court services are not merely about expediting cases, they are about ensuring accessibility, transparency, and fairness. Each of you, in your respective roles, contributes to the larger goal of advancing justice.
The target audience for this special gathering is participants from various jurisdictions across the country, with the bid to better equip you with requisite knowledge as well as update you with evolving trends in the administration of justice.
The workshop with the team Advancing Justice Through Effective Court Services is aimed at maintaining judicial integrity in the country. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Another break is apt. Let's take it.
Our administration has shown its commitment to the youth by setting up the student loan scheme. To date, 45.6 billion has already been processed for payment to students and their respective institutions. I encourage more of our vibrant youth population to take advantage of this opportunity. We established the Consumer Credit Corporation with over 200 billion to help Nigeria to acquire essential products without the need for immediate cash payment, making life easier for millions of households. This will consequently reduce corruption and eliminate cash and opaque transactions. This week, I ordered the release of an additional 50 billion naira, each for NEL Fund, the student loan, and Credit Corporation for the proceeds of crime recovered by the EFCC. Additionally, we have secured $620 million under the Digital and Creative Enterprises, IDICE, a program to empower our young people, creating millions of IT and technical jobs that will make them globally competitive. This program, including the 3 million technical talent scheme, unfortunately, one of digital centers was vandalized during the protests in Kano. What a shame.
Thanks for staying with us. The House of Representatives has dissolved its joint downstream and midstream committee investigating the importation of adulterated petroleum products into the country. Part of the mandate of the headed committee constituted by the House on the 9th of July 2024 was to investigate the non-availability of crude oil for domestic refineries, the resurgence of fuel queues and other critical energy security issues. Announcing the dissolution of the committee, House spokesman Akin Rotimi says a new one will be constituted in a bid to guarantee the independence of the investigation. It says integrity, competence and expertise of lawmakers to be selected will be among criteria the House leadership will consider for membership of a new headed committee to be constituted with similar mandates. The Sultan of Sokoto and the President General Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs Mohammed Saad Abubakar has declared Tuesday 6th August 2024 as the first day of Safar 1446 AH. A statement signed by Professor Sambo Walik Junaidu, Chairman, Advisory Committee on Religious Affairs, Sultanate Council, Sokoto, says the committee, in conjunction with the National Moon Sighting Committee, did not receive report from various moon sighting committees across the country, confirming sighting of the new crescent of Safar 1446 AH on Sunday, equivalent to 4th of August 2024. It states that Monday 5th of August 2024 is the 30th of Muharram 1446 AH. Sultan of Sokoto and President General, Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Mohammed Saad Abubakar, accepted the report and accordingly declared Tuesday 6th of August 2024 as the first day of Safar 1446 AH. And next is a quick look at the weather picture for tomorrow, Tuesday. And that's the news. I'm Elizabeth Omori. And our sign language interpreter is Precious Ozemina. Thank you so much for your time.